Hi guys, it's me again, your God Health Babe, your girl G, your favorite scientist. Welcome to my channel. And I am very happy to see you here, that you are watching my videos and liking my content. Thank you so much for your support. Road to 100 begins. Let's get to 100 soon. Yes, yeah, I'm having a good old cup of hot chocolate in a mug that my boss gifted me with. When I started here, my boss is from Iran. She is one of the leading female scientists in the field of embryology and reproduction research. Yeah. So when I first arrived, she gave me this mug, with the flag, Pakistani flag. Not Pakistani, she's from Iran. Yeah, but you get me. Yeah. She has roots in Pakistan as well. Yeah. Anyway, this is not about my boss, but about me. So today I had the opportunity to meet the Vice Chancellor of the university that I work at. Well, she's the acting Vice Chancellor. I literally shook hands with her. I would say she's one of the most powerful women in academia. It's not every day that you meet a woman who leads a world-class institution, like one of the best institutions in the whole world. Actually, one of the two oldest universities in the world. I can't begin to describe how privileged I feel and how honored I feel to have had a conversation with her and tell her about myself and where I'm from. I was the only Botswana. Yes, I'm from Botswana. People from Botswana are called Batswana. Yes, so singular is Motswana and plural is Batswana. Not Botswanen. I am not Botswanen. I am a Motswana. Yes, I was the only Motswana at that reception, and actually the only black person there. I noticed that, but I quickly forgot it because I'm so used to being the only black person in these audiences anyway. Representation, yeah, lacks. And I must say there is a long way to go for people of color, people from ethnic minorities to infiltrate these spaces, historically predominantly white spaces, you know what I mean? But we're getting there. I mean, just recently it was in the news, it was all over the news, this young man, he's 37 and he's autistic, and he was recently appointed professor, the first professor with autism and of color in that department ever in the history of the university. So we're getting there. It's people like them who pave ways for us, people of color, to come in, to see that, to not feel intimidated by the spaces, to know that we are welcomed. The university has, I would say that the university has it has a strong policy for diversity and inclusivity, and as a person of color working in such a historically predominantly white university, and more specifically working in science, I must say that I cannot without a doubt say that I've had a bad experience. When I first started, of course, I had challenges, with fitting in and cultural shocks. And I mean, I was coming from Africa, and I'm not saying we don't have white people in Africa. We do have white people, but white people, what I came to learn and realize is that white people in Africa are different from white people elsewhere. To a certain extent, they're like us. We don't even realize that they're white people because, yeah. Good cup of hot chocolate. Anyway, so I want to talk about my journey from, like, how did a young black woman come to meet the Vice Chancellor of the University of Cambridge? You know, how did I get here? Really? Actually, my journey in science starts from the time when I was in high school. You know, I was very curious about how things work, how things originate, how to get things work. I just had that curious mind. You know, in school you are given the syllabus and then the teachers teach according to the syllabus. But I was always that kid who goes beyond the syllabus, because my curiosity was just insane. It was just widespread. I wanted to know more. So I'd always go and read other books. Like I would go read, like if I, for example, say if I was in Form 3, I would go read books from Form 5 type of thing, because they are more detailed than Form 3 books. Sorry about that. It's spring. Hay fever. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So, as I was saying, my curiosity. So one time I remember when I was 16 years old, there was Maths and Science Fair happening in the city, in the school that I was at. Well, our school was one of the schools participating in the citywide Maths and Science Fair. It was the preliminary rounds. You know, there's the prelims, and then there's the regionals, and then there's the nationals. So it was just one of those. So a friend of mine, a very close friend of mine, who was my classmate at the time, and we took to undertake an unheard of research project. And imagine, it was back in 2003, and honestly, we didn't have internet where I was. Probably in first world countries there was internet, but where I came from, we didn't have internet. We didn't have access to Google. I don't think Google existed even then, did it? Anyway, even if it existed, we had no access. Although we had a computer lab filled with computers, and computer studies was offered as a subject, and it was one of my subjects. I did 10 subjects, and computer studies was one of them. We didn't have internet, you know. So so it means to undertake our research project, the only resources we had was to go to the library, to go to the hospital to, interview nurses and doctors, and try to find as much information as we could in newspapers and old newspapers, old magazines. That's how we did our research. So we undertook a project to prove and show that men can get breast cancer too. Yeah. Yeah. That was our project. And with the limited resources that we had, we managed to put something together. I mean, we went to the main hospital in the city, the Princess Marina Hospital, and we went to the oncology department, and we interviewed the administrators and some doctors there. We went to the cancer associations of Botswana. We went to the National Library. We looked at some encyclopedias, medical books, to try and find something that can prove that men get breast cancer. And, mind you, we were just 16 years old. We had no knowledge of immunology. We were just curious about this, and we wanted a unique project that will obviously, lead us to winning the competition. Yeah. And I remember when we went to the Cancer Association of Botswana, at the time, there wasn't much data. We did get... we're told that actually one man, there was just one person who came and presented with breast cancer symptoms, and it was a guy. That was enough for us. That was our lifeline. you know, this project that we're doing was not like other kids' projects. Other kids, they do, obviously they had projects that were doable, projects where they had the resources to prove their concepts, but we didn't have that, so. But even though we didn't win, we didn't qualify to move to the regionals, but we had enough, just that one statistic that we had of that one person, that one man who presented with those symptoms was enough for us to write about, and we came up with a poster, we wrote our hypothesis, that's when I learned how to do hypotheses. We designed our entire project, with the methods, then the pros, the methods, and then the results, and then the conclusion, yeah. And I mean, now it's been 20 years, and in the last 20 years, it has been shown that men do get breast cancer. They have nipples. Research since then, research has come out. Studies have been done, of men being diagnosed with breast cancer. Yeah, it's amazing how science has advanced in the last 20 years. And then, I loved biology. I was very good in biology. Biology excited me a lot. And then when I got to university, I enrolled for a Bachelor of Science in, chemical, molecular, and cellular sciences with a major in biotechnology and microbiology. I didn't want to do medicine. Yeah. Contrary to popular belief, it doesn't mean that when you are good in sciences and you love science, you end up doing medicine. From where I come from, that's the popular belief. Yeah, you either do medicine or dentistry or engineering or one of those. But I chose to do a Bachelor of Science because I was curious about the invisible world. The invisible world that controls so much of our bodies. That is the source of life. Life comes from that invisible world. The world that can't be seen with the naked eye. And it can tell us a lot. That's why I did my Bachelor of Science. So I got into my Bachelor of Science undergraduate degree, and again, I come into research when I was doing my second year. For my microbiology module, we had to do a research project, and immunology was one of my favorite and strongest modules of that course. So of course, it was a group project. My teammates, we did a research project about HPV vaccine, human papillomavirus vaccine. Now, this was, which year was it? 2007. Yeah. This vaccine was not yet available, but GSK was working on Gardasil. I think it's GSK was working on Gardasil. There's different stages. Like vaccine development is a long process. It can take up to 10 years to develop a vaccine. But since COVID, it has proven that we can act through like new technology like mRNA. You can get a vaccine out in a short period of time. But, circumstances had, the pandemic circumstances necessitated the need to get a vaccine out there very quickly. But procedurally, ideally, vaccines take up to 10 years to manufacture because you go through the preclinical stages where you're trying it out on animals like mice or guinea pigs to prove your concept. And then you move on to phase 1, and then there's phase 2 and phase 3. And then after phase 3, when you've proven that your vaccine works and it has I don't believe that any vaccine has no side effect. Let me just say minimal side effects while conferring the properties that it's designed to in a human body. And then after that, you get to the legislation part of it now. The authorities, the governments must approve, right? Yeah. So I don't remember what stage the Gardasil vaccine was, but we presented about the development of an HPV vaccine. So those projects, like that project, ignited my love for immunology. I loved immunology a lot, you know. Yeah, it piqued my interest a lot. And I knew then that I'm meant for research. Research is where I want to go, you know. And in my being a researcher means I must also be very good in doing things in the lab, because research relies heavily on practice and not theory. I mean, you can't go out there and say, and tell people something without having proven it and produced results of what you hypothesized. You know what I mean? So after my undergraduate graduation, instead of deciding to go on and do a postgrad degree, I decided, okay, I think I need to see how all of these that I've learned is put into practice. I want to put my theory into practice, because I felt that it'll contribute to my becoming a knowledgeable scientist. I don't want to just be a scientist who just has things in the head but hasn't practiced them. So I wanted to put all of my knowledge into practice, you know. So while my classmates went on to do postgraduate studies, I decided that I want to go work. So I graduated and I went back to Botswana, and I got my first job as a research assistant in just a month after graduation. I graduated in December, and then I was job hunting January, and then February I started my first job. My first job was actually 13 years ago. Yeah, it was 13 years ago. Yeah, my first job as a research assistant in immunology. I had never handled a patient's blood, you know, and I learned how to work in a lab, how a lab runs, how to handle specimens from people's bodies and discover many things from them, various kinds of things, you know. Bodily fluids hold a wealth of information. Bodily fluids and tissue, they hold a wealth of information. There will never be an ending to the exploration of the microscopic world, the invisible world that resides within the physical human body. You know, that's why I love science. You know, there's always something to discover. You know, there's always a problem to identify and work towards that solution. You know, so yeah, so today I made history. Yeah. Just a girl from Botswana shook hands with the Vice Chancellor of a prestigious university. I mean, how many Botswana can say that they've met the Vice Chancellor of the University of Cambridge? Spoke with her, shook hands with her. Sorry, I didn't take a picture because, yeah, that moment required me to pay my full attention and engage in the conversation that I was having with her. Yeah. I feel very privileged. I do not for a second take this for granted. That I moved from being an African scientist doing research in Africa to being an African scientist doing research at one of the world's best universities. Yeah. Yeah. Let that sink in. I pinch myself every time, you know. And in 2 weeks' time, I will also be standing on a podium full of professors, doctors, telling them about the research landscape where I come from, my experience from working in Botswana and South Africa, and try to convince them to do research with us back home. I was invited by the School of Biological Sciences to give that talk. So I'm very anxious about it. Yeah. I mean, me. Imagine, who am I? I don't even have a PhD yet. Yeah, but someone saw the value in the work that I do. Somebody validated me. I feel validated. Not that I have not validated myself. Of course I have validated myself. I mean, that's why I got a job here. If I didn't feel proud of myself, I most definitely would not have been able to get a job here. But I've worked very hard. So that's it for today. I will continue this and speak about my journey to the University of Cambridge. There's many gaps that I haven't filled, but I just wanted to speak today about my experience meeting the Vice Chancellor of this university. I mean, some of my colleagues have not met the Vice Chancellor yet. People who have been here and working here, they just see the Vice Chancellor in emails and publications and whatnot, but meeting the Vice Chancellor in person, not yet. And I'm just a new person who just came, and already I'm meeting the Vice Chancellor. So I really give thanks to God, and I hope to be an inspiration to young Black scientists, that they too can reach the stages of the world. Just because you are Black, it doesn't mean that you're not capable. There are a lot of Black people who have accomplished a lot in the world of science. The world doesn't know about them because the world doesn't want people to know about them. But yeah, here is to many more years of doing science, groundbreaking research here at this university. Thank you for tuning in. Please remember to subscribe, to comment, and you can suggest topics for me to talk about. I mean, I don't know what my next post will be about, but this whole journey of my, coming here from University of Cape Town in South Africa to, via Botswana to here is a whole long story, and I will tell it in chunks and bits and pieces, but in the end, when you've watched all the videos, it'll make sense, because otherwise I don't want to make a whole 1-hour video. Yes, thank you for your support. I appreciate it. Please hit subscribe, like, comment, and make sure that you hit the notification button so you get notifications for all my videos. Thank you very much. Ciao.